Hi everyone, in this video tutorial we're going to look at the family and the law. Okay, so we have laws that relates to family and we call them family law. And this is Act 15 of 1981 as part of our constitution, and I'm going to look at the actual law and the constitutional document that we have in Trinidad and Tobago and all the laws relating to the family. Now, this document will be posted on Google Classroom for you, but I just want to go through it for you to see the different aspects of it. When we talk about the family and law, we talk about laws relating to inheritance. We talk about someone's will. We talk about the beneficiary of that will. We talk about laws relating to childcare. We talk about laws related to legal separation and divorce. We talk about laws related to domestic violence, right? So in all of these, you will see what I speak of when we speak of the law. So let's continue. So this is the front page of the document. It says Family Law, Guardianship of Minors, Domicile and Maintenance Act. Okay, this is Act 15 of 1981, and this is our laws, the written laws of our country. Scrolling down on this document, it's 70 pages long, and it was last updated December 31st, 2009. In this, we see the basic ruling for laws. This is not important to you. We're looking now at the family law and the general principles under this. We look at questions relating to custody, upbringing of minors, and what are to be decided. We talk about equality of parental rights, change of name of a minor, and guardianship of minors. Okay, we have the section that deals with down to paternity orders. So if a man never claims for his child or denies the fact that a child is his, there's a paternity order that could be given from family court that will change his idea then, right? It can prove that he is not the father. We have the enforcement part, in which enforcement of orders for payment of money. So for example, most times when parents divorce or people separate, the mother has full care and control of her children. And by extension, the children's father would have the right, or he has the right, or will be given the court order to pay maintenance on behalf, right? So that father will be ordered by the court, signed by a judge, to pay maintenance for his children, and failure to do so can lead to imprisonment. We have laws related to neglect and the destitution of a minor. So people who choose to neglect their children, there's laws for that as well. Okay, continuing, we have, let's get to the actual part of the document. And this is a very serious document, right? So it is an act to define, it's right here. It is an act to define and regulate I'm reading right at this point here where I make the yellow line. An act to define and regulate the authority of parents as guardians of their minor children, whether or not born in wedlock, their power to appoint guardians, and the powers of the court in relation to guardianship, custody, and maintenance of matters. So this is an act really to define how children are treated based on, from the time a child is born, there's this saying that parents has to own up to their responsibility. In this act, they will define everything. They will define what is a court. They will define what is custody, which means the right to provision and care of a minor. We have custodian of a minor, means a person who is appointed to have custody of a minor by a court. We have guardianship, which means a person of a minor includes a right of control. So guardianship doesn't mean parents, it could mean a grandparent for that matter. We have what is called High Court, which means High Court of Justice, where you will not stand alone. Basically, a judge is present and a lawyer to determine. We have legal custody, right? So all these are terms that the law would highlight. We have legal custody, which means as respect to a minor, so much of the parental rights or duties as relate to the person of a minor. So if you have legal custody of your child, you are the one to determine which school the child goes to, all the decision making of that child life. You have that sole responsibility. And you don't really need to consult anybody because you are given the legal custody. Right? We have magistrate court, and we have what is called maintenance. Maintenance include under education, and this is basically the money paid for children by one parent or another parent for their upbringing. We have the minor child of the family. Basically, a minor in a family, somebody under the age of 18 or somebody who is not considered married. In some countries, marriage is available to people over the age of 12, 14, once they hit puberty, etc. And they continue to define it, right? So your assignment will look at these definitions to help you make your notes. We have general principles now. So basically everything dealing with family, let's say a mother wants to change her child's name. If a father don't pay maintenance for a couple months, I think 6 months, she's allowed to change their names, okay? Because that stands as a mention then that he is giving up his paternal rights. Okay, once a court order is instructing him to do something and he do not do it, it comes to be that. Now, the court also has the authority to take children from a home. So, for example, if the mother is unfit and the father is unfit, the court will remove the children and place them in the care of a home. And usually the body in Trinidad that handles this is Children's Authority, right? So, and there's a case where both parents may have died and no relative claim, then they go to a home as well. The document also goes on to talk about appointment of guardians, and if so, do so jointly, right? There are some people who have joint custody, which by means both husband and wife would need to consult everything. And this is very high conflict oriented. So we talk about court access, maintenance, and so forth, right? So again, once a matter is in court and children is concerned, the magistrate or the judge has full authority to say when and how access should be done, right? There are some people who has to visit special institutions to see their children. There are some fathers who get weekends, alternate weekends. There are some fathers who get half the week, mother half the week. It all depends on the situation of the court, okay? And the situation that is currently in court. The law also talks about how maintenance should be applied for and received. Moving on, it talks about the father's right to apply in terms of next thing, like for example, there are some people who might think a child is his or hers, and well, his, and they have all rights to go to court and detest it. And basically, matters in high court will be determined by a judge, so everything goes through a judge. We also have the part dealing with matrimonial proceeding and property act, right? Then that talks about the dissolution of a marriage via divorce, because applications for divorce are done through a court. Sometimes if it's urgent, it goes to high court. Sometimes a regular magistrate court can dissipate a marriage. It goes on to talk about paternity orders, matrimonial proceedings, the power of the court to make orders for financial provision for parties in a marriage. Okay, so either party to a marriage may apply to the district, which may cause the complaint as wholly or partially arisen for an order under Section 25, has failed to provide reasonable maintenance and so forth. So a husband and a wife is divorced, the wife can claim alimony from her husband, especially if she's entitled to. It all depends, right? There's a law and the judge handle those things. We then move on to talk about after matrimonial proceeding, divorce will fall under this, and enforcement of the law. So basically, whatever the court order says, and let's say someone disobeys it, it is punishable by law. Okay, and this entire document just goes on talking about these things in detail. It's worthwhile to read these documents to know your rights, to know what you're entitled to, and so forth, right? And there's the part of the law that deal with neglect and destitution. So if an accident happened to your child under your care, and it can be classed as neglect, you are entitled to be convicted, right? Someone who deserts their children, let's say leave their children, neglect them, is sentenced to imprisonment for 2 months, and those are minor cases. If neglect leads to the death of a child, it can lead to much more severe penalties. Okay? Believe it or not, there are women who maybe just had a baby and would leave the baby in the hospital and leave. Those things are punishable as well, but again, situations people do this for is very rare in some cases, right? There's a section in the hospital that has children and abandoned children, which are very basically cared for by the state. The document continued to talk about magistrate proceedings and what happens if you fail to show up and any miscellaneous things. Under this document, you'll also find the laws related to inheritance. So basically, how we deal with inheritance is via something called a will, right? So if you have assets and you want to make sure that these assets go to the proper people when you die, then you make a will. You can create your own will and just have it signed by 2 witnesses, or you can go to an attorney and she will do the will for you, or he will do the will for you, and attest with 2 witnesses, and that should suffice. Okay, a will is not a deed. A deed is a separate document. Okay. A person receiving an inheritance is called a beneficiary, and what each should receive is described in a will. So if a mother has 5 children and she has some assets and she did a will, she created a will then to show how she separated and divided her assets among her children. Then the will have specific amounts. So if her eldest son is to get 75% worth of her assets, then he needs to get 75%. He will not get less, he will not get more. Okay, so it's very descriptive in terms of sharing. And a will is usually read when the person dies. So there's this say where we create wills and we die, then the power of the attorney will be there to read the will so that everybody is attuned to what they are expected to get. Okay. Many people who are aware of their circumstances tend to leave wills. The proper thing to do is to leave a will. If you do not leave a will, it will cause conflict in your family. You'll have everybody fighting and then going to court, and then the court will now have to address this matter. Mind you, any money that is left unclaimed, any assets that are left unclaimed are considered that of the state. right? This document also goes on to talk about forms and the different forms for different proceedings. And again, it is a very detailed document. So I'd encourage you to go through this document, read it through. You don't have to read the whole thing, just skim it through. What I will do is ask you questions and I'll post it, and you'll have to go through the document and find the answers. So that should help you, okay? This is the part with forms, the different forms and so forth. You'll have to collect in court, and maintenance card, and so forth. Now, I don't know if we have maintenance cards and stuff anymore, but these things are what should be in place to ensure that things run smoothly. Right? We have the order for attached pension and income. So even if you give your son the authority to collect your pension, this must be in some form of writing. So this document is very important for everybody to know. Right? It deals with the issues with children. It deals with the issues of marriage and divorce. It deals with property and inheritance. It deals with laws against domestic violence, right? Once a report is made based on an act of domestic violence, it is punishable in court once proper evidence is given. So this was my tutorial. It wasn't anything much, but it was just to go through this family law document with you. And basically, it is to show you more insight on the fact that we have laws in place for family, because you will be having some questions dealing with this document, as well as a document a handout that I will post describing the different laws in place and so forth. So thank you for watching this video tutorial on the family and the law. I hope you read the handout to supplicate this video and do the necessary questions to understand the topic a little better. So thank you for watching this video tutorial.